Hey everyone, thank you. You're joining into, I guess, the second episode of Online Hangouts with Maddie McDonald. And today, with you, today we have the awesome Georgie Thomas. For those of you that might be new to Isogenics, she is 5-star Golden Circle Crystal Executive. And she is 25 years old, 25 years young, actually. And she used to be, or she still is, a exercise physiologist. Did I say that right, George?
Yeah, got it.
And I'm lucky enough to call her one of my close friends as well. There's a million other things I could say about you, Georgie, but I think I wanted just to get you to go straight into your story, and I guess that would be starting from the very beginning. So before Isogenics, can you share how you were, I guess?
Thanks, Mads, and thanks for having me on your little hangout. I feel so special. So yeah, let's get right into it, I think. But I think for a lot of people that are starting, and maybe for a lot of you who are looking at this today or whenever you do watch it, it's easy for you guys to look at us now and think, oh, you know, this is why they're this, oh my gosh, I can't even speak now. This is why that they're successful now. And you might think that this is the way that we've always been, so it may have been easy for us or whatever. But what I want to show people is I wasn't always like this. And for me, a lot of people don't understand just how I was for the majority of my life. And I want to picture it to you as, you know, I was a little girl who was always overweight, who had red hair, who had freckles, who had no self-confidence whatsoever. And that was me for my entire life. I was always overweight. And in one part, I was actually obese. So I went through school having those issues underlying me the entire time. And I finished school and I went into university, and it was at that stage that I hit rock bottom. And it was weird because I went in to go study human movement. So part of me did have a passion in health because I was actually quite sporty. I played softball at a high level. And so I found that passion in the human body, and that's what I wanted to study. But it was in my first year and I'd already put on so much weight after school. And we had to go into this class, and in front of our entire class, we had to get into our bathers and do underwater weighing to figure out our body fat percentage. And I literally almost crapped myself. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was the scariest time of my life. One, having to be in bathers in front of my friends, and even people who weren't my friends in there. And two, having them figure out how much fat was on my body. And that was the most, it scared me more than anything, but it was the biggest wake-up call to me that something needed to change. But it was also a massive realization that I realized I was never actually happy in my own body. There was never one time in my life up until that point that I looked at myself and I was happy. And I think, you know, a lot of people can come in and see me now and you know, think I'm bright, happy and confident, and I am. I'm so happy with how I've, you know, transformed now. But I think a lot of people forget the story behind it and just where I started from. So if you're sitting there and you know, your life sounds like it's been similar to what my build-up has been with my own body and self-confidence issues, just know that you're in the right place to make a change right now, and know that there are so many of us that can relate to you.
So, Georgie, tell us, how did Isogenics find you, or how did you find Isogenics?
Yeah. So during that time, I tried lots of other different programs, and I did have some success. I did, you know, I can think of 4 different programs off the top of my head right now. But then I went into full clean eating and exercising once or twice a day. And by the way, I hate exercise half the time. I don't know why I became an exercise physiologist, because it is hard at times. It's a love-hate relationship. But I was working so hard, and I reached a point where my mum and dad actually had to sit me down and say, you need to chill out. Like, you actually need to stop being so obsessed with trying to make a change. And they pretty much just said to me, you know, you just have to start living And for me, I took that as I'm just going to have to accept that this is who I am and nothing's going to change. And that was hard to get to that point where I was working so hard and I didn't actually think I was going to get to where I wanted to be. That was hard. So I had a break off of, you know, trying to reach my goals for about 2 months. And it was during that time that I started to see all these before and afters come through. And I was like, here we go. Here's the next best thing that's going to stuff everyone up, and they're going to put their money into it and they're going to get nothing out of it. That was my mindset. But they kept on coming. This little voice in my head was like, come on, George, just give it one last shot. You can do it. And this was 2 months before I was going to Europe with my partner at the time. We were going away for 5 months. So I wanted to feel good. So I remember I contacted Peter Kelly, who was on my Facebook, and I asked her about it. And I was like, what is this? And I had a trust for her just because her uni background in health similar to mine. So I did have that trust for her. But she said to me, and probably the only reason why I did get started was she said, you can get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you try it and you don't like it, you can send it back. And that's no joke the only reason why I tried, because I thought I was going to send it back. But I ended up getting that little brown box, and it changed my entire world. And who would have thought that 3 years on now I'd still be using it. So in my first week, and it's different for everyone, results are all different for everyone, but in my first week I lost 2 kilos, and that for me was huge because that would usually take me 1 or 2 months, was what I was doing before. I felt like I had energy, which was different because I know most females out there are used to depleting themselves of carbohydrates and things like that our body actually needs. And I was satisfied. It tastes good. And Mads knows this. She knows that I'm a foodie. I love food. So the fact that I could stick to something and feel so good, I was just like, I remember waking up day 2, running downstairs, and I was like, Mum, something's like, I don't know what this stuff is, but it's working. Like I had a flat stomach, my bloating had gone, I had energy, and I was more so confused as to anything. So I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? So yeah, that's where it all started with the product for me. And, you know, it helped me. I've lost 23 kilos now in total, and I don't have to stress anymore. I don't have to worry if I go away and if I have a few wines or if I have some delicious meals. I don't have to stress. And I think when you've been worrying about that for the majority of your life, the fact that you don't have to think about it anymore, you feel safe with the program, that is a lifestyle change, not just a fad, I think that is huge. And that over my results, that alone is massive. But the fact that I could reach a point where I actually got happiness back into my life, game changer.
And I love that you've, you know, said that, Georgie, in terms of, you know, you can go away. And I know for me, I've obviously been on the products naturally. You know, they're in the office, and I personally love them. But I know that I can come back from, you know, things like the Christmas holidays and have the products, put them in my body, and know that I'm going to come back, you know, to normal weight, normal everything, which is it's so good. It's so reliable. I love that personally. But so George, how did you go from, you know, a product user, a successful product user with results like you did, to a business builder?
Yeah, for me, it happened quite naturally in the fact of my first 30 days, I followed it to a T, to an absolute T. And because I really wanted to know if this stuff was real or not. And so after my first 30 days, I had results and people could see it. Not only, like, I was excited about it, so I was talking about it naturally. I wasn't throwing it into people's faces, but my friends and family could see it. And that's where it started. My mum was the first person I ever enrolled, and one of my best friends was a close second after that. And, you know, over my first 30 days, I had some people asking me, and who am I not to share it with them, knowing how much it's changed my life. I knew other people needed this. And I didn't understand the full opportunity side of things at the beginning. I just wanted to use the products. But when people were asking, I wanted to share it. And then so as soon as I shared it with my mom and my best friend, I got the money back, and I was like, what the hell? Like, why am I getting this money back? And then I remember Peter saying to me, Georgie, you know you can do this while you're traveling Europe, and you can get paid for it every single week. Like, no company is going to pay you more than what Isagenix will for changing lives and for making an impact. And I loved helping people. That was the area that I was working in, or finished working in at uni. I loved health, and I knew that part of me realized, and it kind of clicked, that maybe this is why I had to go through all the struggles that I had to and get to the other side, so that now I can be in a position to help others do the same. So I kept sharing it. I would post it before and after here and there.
Can I actually ask you, George, just on that, before you posted that before and after, did that scare you?
Yeah, I almost vomited, to be honest. I remember posting my first ever before and after, and my mum was actually in the kitchen. I was out on this table, and I was like sitting on my laptop, and I was like, I had it up on my screen for so long, and I was just like, I was like getting hot sweats, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, because I was so freaked out about my before picture. It wasn't my after picture that I was scared about, it was my before picture, and I didn't want people to see that I got that bad. But I posted it, and obviously that is what started everything for me, because I had people contacting me because they could see that it was me. People knew that of me, so I shouldn't have been scared of that, because they'd seen that. But this was the new me. And so that's really what started my business. But I've even got another example for you. It was only last week. My good friend Tori, she's done a 30 days before, and then she stopped using the products for a while. But after her first 30 days, she had amazing results. And I said to her, oh my gosh, you look phenomenal. You need to post them. And she didn't see how good her results really were. But time went on, and she kept watching myself and the team go. And she kept saying, oh my gosh, maybe I want to do this again. Maybe this is for me. And I said, okay, cool. Post your before and after. And she was so scared. This only happened last week. And she was so scared. She was messaging me being like, oh my gosh, do I have to put it on Facebook too? Because she was just going to put it on Instagram. I was like, put it on Facebook. She's like, no, I can't. There's way too many people on there. And I was like, Tori, just trust me, just bloody post it. She posted it. She's got 250 plus likes on it. She rang me the next morning at 8 a.m. She's like, I have so many inboxes. I don't even know how to respond. What do I do? And she's going to restart again, but she's going to hit consultant straight off the bat, just because she had that little bit of courage, and she just went for it, and she realized that this isn't about you anymore. Like, once you go and get your results, it kind of stops being about you, and it's about who else can you pass this on to? Who else can you help? So I can relate to that. And if you do get freaked out, just feel that fear and feel that it's uncomfortable, but you got to take that as this is something good. This means something good is going to come out of this. And if you can just help one person from that post, do you think that it's worth it?
I love that. So what happened to you then, Georgie, going back to, your story? You posted it. Peter was helping you through it. What happened?
Yes. Yeah. So she more so just explained to me, where it could go from here. And I saw the compensation plan. I watched the compensation plan video about 8 times, because the first maybe 6 times I was like, is this even real? Is this even possible? It was the first time I'd seen any business model like that. And I remember then suddenly being keen on the opportunity in the business side, and I was so scared to speak to my dad about it at the time, because I thought he was going to say that I was an idiot. But I remember making him sit down with me and look through it, and he's like, just go for it. And I was like, okay. And then I went to Europe, and by this stage I'd already helped a few other people go through a 30 days, and it worked for them. So my belief in the program and the products was the best that it ever could have been. And I knew that while I was traveling, why not help people? So when I was away, I was literally posting maybe 2 or 3 before and afters a week. And obviously that was intertwined with my travel photos of me doing whatever the hell I was doing. And from that, people were messaging me and saying, what is this program? What are you doing? And I loved it. I was more than happy to go sit in a cafe in London and chat to people and say, this is what you can do. This is what I have to offer. If you want to do it, I'll coach you through. And I think it goes to show people that you can do this from anywhere and in any situation if you really love it and if you really have a passion to help people through it. So I went through the whole 5 months doing that, keeping consistent with my posts. And to be honest, half the time I had no idea what I was doing, to be completely honest. But I didn't care. I didn't even really think twice about it. And I was plugging myself into Isogenics calls, ones that were already recorded. So I was using isogenicsbusiness.com. I was plugging into Peter's calls, and I was plugging into David Wood and Amplified Network Marketing on iTunes. And that was a game changer for me because I didn't have a real understanding of network marketing before. But I remember listening to his podcast and I wouldn't be able to sleep because it was just like, it brought up so many possibilities to me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually real and this is happening for people and it exists. So by the end of my trip of the 5 months, I'd been paid every single week that I was away. And one of those weeks, it was I earned $1,000, which was purely based on how many people I've helped. But I woke up that morning to being paid and I was in Spain and I just looked at my partner at the time and I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I get the same feeling thinking back on it now because I was 22, 23 at the time and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting paid for changing people's lives, which I've always wanted to do, and yet I'm waking up in Spain. And it was just, yeah, and I'm waking up in Spain and I can do what I want today and I can still help people for part of it. I was like, why don't more people know about this? Why aren't young people, like, this is a golden ticket to life, like having a phenomenal life. You can make an impact and you can still choose how you want to make each day. And it was from there that I caught the vision on a deeper level. I caught it before with the products, but this time I caught the entire thing and I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and that's it. So I hit director on my flight home, and from there I remember Peter ringing me. She's like, all right, hit director, you got to run for exec. You just got to go for it, because as soon as you hit, I personally think that getting to director is the hardest bit because that's 6 consultants. Then to get to exec, you just need 4. So I always say to her, once you hit to director, and this is what Peter did with me, you've got to run to exec, you've got to go for it. And so I hit director, and I think it was 2 weeks later I hit exec and 2-star. And from there, that's when my excitement and belief in all areas was 10 out of 10. That's when I started attracting some amazing people into this business who are now my phenomenal tribe. And I went with it. And I was actually meant to start my exercise physiology job. I got home from Europe in October. I was meant to start my exercise physiology job in November, but for reasons I didn't actually start. He didn't start me till the following November. So if I didn't have Isogenics in that year, I would have been screwed. Honestly, I would have been screwed. But then I started my exercise physiology job a year later. And by that stage, I'd already built myself, my income up with that. And that was my passion that lit me up more than anything. And I started my job, and I remember my first week and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Just because I loved what I was doing with Isogenics. And even though I thought I loved exercise physiology, that was before I found something like this.
So, as you said, you've built a tribe since then. How have you taken people, I guess, you know, having a great product experience, but then showing them the financial opportunity within Isogenics and what it can really do for you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Young people need to see the comp plan for starters. Like I was saying to you before, how I had to watch it about 8 times for me to really understand it because I'd never seen anything like that before. But I think when it comes to building your tribe, like my tribe are my absolute best friends. And we've had to go through a lot together starting this. I mean, when I first started, I didn't know anyone else in Adelaide that was doing this. So I was really scared about it because I knew I was getting heavily judged by other people from it. And I just had to make sure that I stayed true to myself and what was lighting me up. And I kind of had to keep my blinkers on and focus on that, because I knew if I listened to other people, I would never have found the people who are in my life now. So, excuse me. It's funny when you're really living in your purpose and you're really loving what you're doing, it's funny who shows up in your world. And the girls and guys that I have in my team right now, I didn't know any of them before Isagenix. And I think that's an exciting thing for people who are listening in on this. If you're sitting there and you haven't really built a team yet, you have no idea who's going to come into your life any day now, as long as you're living in your alignment with all of this. And just don't give up. Don't give up trying, posting things because you're scared of what other people think. Just stick to what you want to do and where you want to go, and the right people will fall into that. I actually did a post on that this morning. It's really weird. Yeah.
So the business of marketing, we were talking about that and how that just sort of, you obviously had one perception of it originally. Yeah. How has that perspective change or perception change on how, I guess, you can make a living?
Yeah. So most people, the way that I was brought up was, I had to go to school and get good grades to then go into a university degree that was based on popularity, not even how badly I wanted to do it, but was based on popularity. So originally I wanted to be a physio or a doctor, but my grades told me otherwise. Yeah, I'm not smart. You don't have to be smart to do Isagenix, by the way. But, we get taught that, and then we go to uni, then we have to work so hard in uni to get good grades. I had to get good grades in my first degree to get into my second degree. And then when you finish that degree, you start at the bottom of any pecking order in any job after that, and you have to work your ass off at a low income and then slowly build your way up over time, work 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life, and then have the freedom at the end. And that's how so many of us are wired these days, and that's what society wants us to believe. And that was me. I can say this because that was me. I honestly thought that that's how I had to be for my entire life to get to where I wanted to be in the future. So when I saw something like this, where you can choose your own hours, you can choose who you want to work with, you can choose where you want to work from, all this, you can be completely independent with it all, and there's no limit. I was just like, at first I was like, that can't be real. That literally can't be real, because I was so wired into thinking that this is how life had to be. And I see it in my parents. They work so hard. They're still working so bloody hard, and they're 60 years old. And I just think, what if, if only someone had the guts back in the day to go for something like this and show them that there was another way. And I just keep thinking now, I'm like, yes, this might be hard for some people now to push through. I've copped a lot of stuff from a lot of people that I could have quit. I could have many of times. And same with my girls. They've copped things before that it breaks my heart to see what people were saying, to show them, to try and make them believe that something like this isn't real, when I know it's real because I'm living it. And this is something that can change people's lives forever, but it takes a small minority of us, which is happening, and I know this is happening in the START movement especially, but it takes a small minority of us to actually believe that it can happen, to make it happen, and then to start challenging that status quo and to show everyone else that they can do it as well. And it's just a choice. So I think I get sweaty talking about that, because it's just like, I'm real sweaty right now. But that's, imagine what it's like for our kids. Time, time got the biggest sweaty underboob. But it's like, imagine what it's like for our kids if times are starting to change. And I think our generation right now are really starting to challenge everything. And I find that so exciting to see where life is going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time. But we are the ones right now that need to change that norm. It's not normal anymore to work 9 to 5. It's not normal anymore to have to work, 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life, the 10 years of fun at the end. Like, I don't want to have 10 years of fun when I've got a walking stick. I want to have that fun now. But there has to be a few of us that have the guts and are willing to go through all the crap that's thrown at us. We have to be the ones that have, to push through that, to show others that they can too, and really change the way that everyone starts to think.
Okay, here's a good one. Love the minutes for life, by the way, drinking.
Lindsay, everyone.
Okay, so I'm brand new and I'm listening to this video, and I may have just decided, that I need to make a change in my health. What would your advice be?
So you've just watched the video and you decided, you mean like you've watched a tool?
I want to do something, I've watched this video now and you've just inspired me. I might just want to change in my health, or maybe I want to really pursue sharing, the opportunity within Isogenics.
Yeah. So for me, it all started with the product. I think the products come first, regardless, the business doesn't matter unless you fall in love with the products. So for me, and maybe this is because this is how I've done it, and I know this is how people in my team have been successful, but you really want to be a product of the product. If you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, why isn't my business moving? Or, why can't I find people who want to do this? I want you to sit there and actually reflect on, have you done an intense last 30 days? Are you putting the products into you every day? Are you actually feeling good? And can other people see that on you? Or are you someone who's walking around telling people how tired you are all the time and not feeling the best? Because I really do think it comes from the product. When you are feeling good, you can't help but tell people that you're feeling amazing. And people can see that on you. And when you're feeling good, people are going to be like, hey, whatever she's on, I want that too. And that's where it really starts. I might be biased like that, I'm not sure. But I really think it starts with you being a product of the product and feeling good, and then having that genuine excitement and passion to help people after that.
Okay, so what about this? What are the 5 things I can do right now to shift things, or, to hit my goals for 2017?
Yeah, I've got notes for this because I was like, this is a great question. First one is be consistent. And I mean being consistent on social media as a minimum. Because a lot of people, I can tell that we all go through funks, right? There's always times where maybe we don't feel 100%, and that's human. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm saying that's human, but we don't need to show the whole world that we're going through that. So even if I'm going through a funky week and I'm not feeling that great, I will still post, because people need to know that no matter what, I'm still being consistent with this, and I still need to put myself into people's feeds, because I don't know if there's someone out there having a horrible week, who hate their job, who are feeling so unhappy, who need something like this. So that's why you need to keep the consistency up. And I think that is the biggest thing that I learned, even when I was in Europe. Even though I was traveling, having the best time, I still posted before and afters every single week, and that was a game changer for me. Not saying you all have to post before and afters. Some people don't do that. They prefer to post more lifestyle and health still, but not before and afters. That's what worked for me. So whatever it is for you, just make sure you're consistent with it each week. Second one, always talk to new people. I think this is the biggest secret to it all, because, and I'm going to reflect for each of these points, I'm going to reflect on like a story of myself, just so you guys can understand and know that I'm only telling you this because I've been through it myself. But I know that if my business is feeling dry, if I feel like I've dried up, it's because I'm not actually talking to new people. And I think it's so important to keep adding people into the funnel, because as soon as you stop adding people in, all those people are going to fizzle through, and then you have nothing. And then you're going to get to a point, you're going to wake up one morning, you're going to be like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what do I do today? And I'm saying that because I've hit this point more than one time, many times. So don't feel bad or anything if you've been there before. I know most people have. But the trick to it is to just keep talking to new people and keep making new connections. And that doesn't mean you have to go and be like, hey, do you want to do isogenics? It's just go and make new friends and have no agenda. Have no agenda. Just go and make new friends and have fun. Third one, give your people 5-star service. I was just at NYKO in Perth, and they went through this, and it is so true. If you don't stop looking after people the day that they enrolled, you're not like, cool, I've got your enrollment, and then now that's it. The secret lies between how you treat them in those first 30 days, 60 days, whatever. You still look after them, but you make sure that you know everything that they're wanting to achieve, and you stand right by their side and you help them achieve it. Because you never know, one, if that person is going to have the most life-changing transformation ever, and two, if they go through that, who else do they know? And then what is that going to do to your business? What is that going to do to their business and their life? So always make sure you're looking after your people and giving them the best 30, 60 days ever. 4, stop living in the fear of what people think about you. And I think, to be honest, I think to get you started, I think that is one of the most important things to go through. And it's something that I really focus on with my girls is, and I touched on it before, when I first started, no one else here in Adelaide was doing it, and I absolutely copped it from some people. But I had to remember I was bawling my eyes out, and it's happened a few times. Just so you know that, like, I'm human, and it's hard sometimes, and I've had to see what other people in isogenics have had to go through. And I'm not saying that to turn you off. I'm saying it's because this is so different. It's challenging other people's perceptions on it, and they question you. But I remember sitting down with my dad being like, I don't know if I can handle this. And I was starting to lose some of my closest best friends. And he just said to me, not everyone's going to agree with what you do in life. And how many people have you helped lately? And I remember like looking at my organization at that point, and I think I had maybe 500 people in my organization at that time. And I was just like, there's just something clicked in me. And even though I was so upset, I was just like, could you imagine if I quit? Those people, what would have happened to them? And that's 500 people. And then I have to think, are those 500 people worth these friends who obviously aren't supporting me right now? And that's, even though it's obvious what that answer is, and obviously I chose the right way, but when you're in that situation, it's really hard. And especially I think the younger people as well, or anyone goes through this, but I know with my girls that have then come in, Jordana came in, she copped a few things from some people, but I was there to back her. And then Claudia came in, she went through the same thing, but then she had Jordana and myself back her, then Chloe, then she had the whole group. And so everyone that comes in now, if anything happens to them, they have a whole tribe surrounding them that no matter what, they cannot tear us down, no matter what. And I think now people are starting to realize that it's not about us anymore. It's about the thousands of people that we have impacted. And if I had listened to those people back then, I now have close to 6,000 people in my organization. And it makes me sick to think that I was considering even quitting once before, because those people's lives would not have been changed at all. So I think stop living in that fear of what other people are thinking about you, and go for it, because you've got one shot. Literally, you've got one shot at this life, and you can either listen to what they say and be mediocre, or you can do what you know lights you up and you can be extraordinary. 5th one, be a product of the product and make it fun. I said that before. I know if I'm ever having a funk, when I came home from Europe, for example, I put on a lot of weight in Europe, came home, I cried because I put on 13 kilos and I can laugh about it now, but I was devastated at the time. And I was so freaked out because I thought I ruined my business, and I felt like I was such an embarrassment because I was an exercise physiologist and I kind of relapsed. But I went straight back into a 30-day, and within a few months' time I had lost my weight, and I was honest and posted. This was another time I thought I was going to vomit posting it before and after because I was so embarrassed by it. But I posted that on social media, but people could relate to that. Because how many times do you guys know that you've tried something and then you got results and then you went back to bad habits and then you kind of relapsed and then you felt so bad about it and you were so embarrassed about it? How about instead of thinking that, you use it as a tool to show people that, hey, you're human too, and this actually does work. And even Claudia, for example, I'm sure all of you have seen Claudia Tomchik's before and after. She came home from Europe, had a similar thing happen, and her 16-week ISA body challenge that she has done straight after that has completely changed her business. And I can't wait to see what happens as a result of that. But be a product as a product and make it fun, because then people will realize, one, that this is real and that they can do this too.
So I guess you're going into, point 6 is join the ISA Body Challenge. Yeah. Accountability, it's amazing. Yeah. We have a community, we have a Facebook group, everything. Because I know I've seen Claudia just go from, after Europe to now, it's just nuts to me. Like, she's had a phenomenal results. And then I guess we can say point 7 too, and that's go to events. I know we were speaking before, Georgie, about that and what's coming up soon.
Oh, celebration. Only the biggest and best event of the year.
What would you say, maybe from last year or the year before, what was like big things that you got from Celebration? If I'm brand new right now and I haven't got my ticket, what advice would you give me?
Yeah, okay. One, it's non-negotiable. If you want to be successful in this, it is non-negotiable that you have to be at Celebration for a few reasons. One is that it does things to you on a cellular level that I can't give to you, and maybe your sponsor can't give to you. It's seeing that many people in a room together, hearing the stories. Like, I cry every single time I hear the stories, especially when they do like 100-pound club and things like that. I'm an emotional wreck. But it builds belief in all areas, and it really shows you what's possible. And I think it's just a feeling that you get. Like, I've seen it in myself and in my team. I love watching people in my team that haven't been there before, and I'll like be looking down the aisle and I just see them kind of sit there like, and they're kind of like getting agitated because they're getting like really excited, and they're kind of sitting there and they get it. It's this feeling when they're just like, oh my gosh, this is real. I now know how to do it, and this is how I'm going to do it when I leave. So Celebration just changes things for people, and I've seen it in my own team. I remember there have been a few people, Claudia, for example, again, she was a product user for 6 months, had no interest in the business. We got her to go to an event. She caught the vision, felt it, and then 3 months later hit executive. And that's happened to a few people in my team. But I think the trick is if you're going to go, take people with you, because I guarantee you're going to get post-event regret. If you're sitting there, just trust me on this. Like, I have it all the time. You're going to sit there at the end of the event and you're going to be so buzzy about it all. And the first thing you're going to think of is, wow, I wish this person was here, because imagine what it would have done to them. Imagine what it would have, done for their lives. So it's non-negotiable, guys. I can't even explain to you how much it does, because it changes you on a cellular level.
Love it. So that, for anyone that doesn't know yet, it is the 9th till the 12th of March 2017, so very soon. It's in Brisbane. If you haven't got your tickets, get them. Take your friends. It's going to be fun. Not only do we have a general session, but we also have awesome parties like the start party on the Friday night, which is going to be epic, and lots of fun if you were to bring friends as well. Why not, right? So, Georgie, thanks Thanks for hanging out with me.
Worries. Thanks for having me.
And I'll see you on the flip side. Bye, guys. Have a good week.
Bye, guys.